Hello everybody and welcome back to Create Aeronautics. In the previous episode, we got started with the engineer's workshop as well as the attached garage in which we'll be able to create brand new vehicles. We also got started with our first mob farm as well as some pretty early level enchantments. We do have the create, I think it's enchantment industry mod in this mod pack. So in the future, we will be able to do more advanced enchanting, but for right now, this is just gonna have to do. We also got started with the easy villagers mod, which allows us to basically have our villagers all in sort of a smaller area rather than needing an entire workshop for them. But in the future, we will actually build out a designated area for our villagers. But our focus for today is going to be to finally get started with some agriculture, which is sort of where this area out here to the north of our base kind of comes into play. And if you're fairly observant, you might notice that this area has changed quite a bit. And that's mostly because I haven't really been able to record for this last week. I've just been busy with some IRL things, but I have actually hopped into the world here and just sort of decorated things a little bit more and actually began flattening out the area behind me. So if we take a look at the map, you can kind of see the area that I've been working on. It's definitely a lot more smooth. I made it about to up here. So anything past this line is stuff that was already generated. Everything over here is stuff that I placed down manually. Specifically all of the dirt, and I basically just kind of smoothed this area out. I of course built out and expanded this path, and of course I went ahead and lined it with some trees as well, just to seem like it's a little bit more of almost a suburban urban area, if that makes sense, almost like a farm that's right outside of the city. I also worked on terraforming this area right outside of the workshop and just added a few more trees here and sort of a little bit more foliage and stuff. I also moved all of the nearby bee nests over into this area. So we have a few there. There's one there. There's one here. And so yeah, you'll probably see a ton of bees sort of flying around in this area here. Eventually, of course, we are going to need this to be automated. I don't know if I'm going to do it here on this area, on these trees here, but we at least have some bees set up for the future. And something else that I should probably point out is that the garage is currently empty. And that's because I actually went through and disassembled the mining machine as well as the rover that we had. And I did that for a couple of reasons. The biggest was that they were just kind of causing a little bit of lag. And even while they were disassembled, because Steam engines, for some reason, they just add so much lag to a world, especially, I think it's just the fluid tanks themselves. I'm not entirely sure, but they kind of reduce my FPS by 50% with shaders on, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that everything there went to waste. I actually went ahead and assembled a new vehicle sort of from the scraps of both the mining machine and the rover kind of put together here. And this is a kind of a tree logging machine. It's not decorated or anything because this will probably also get disassembled. But I learned a new trick from watching some random, I think it was a YouTube shorts, but the suspension key, if you right click on it, you can actually get over to the position mode. And then if you actually click on a regular tire mount, wheel mount, you can actually adjust the wheels. And this is actually a huge thing because we can actually move it pretty far away from the wheel mount itself. And of course, if we shift right click on the wheel mount, we can actually make it invisible, which means the vehicles that we can make actually has expanded quite a bit just from unlocking this little piece of technology. And the reason I needed the saw, of course, is because this forest area did actually extend out a little more into the plain, so I had to go through and clear out some trees. Now, when it comes to the actual terraforming of this area, there is a few pieces here that I just realized I forgot right here. But yeah, it does come up right to the forest edge and kind of dip off. I think that I'm just going to leave it like that. I don't really see the point in like trying to terraform the entire forest. But we should definitely have plenty of room to make our new farms today. So with that little sort of tangent out of the way, let's get started with today's video. And if you're excited to build up some farms today, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton and lets me know that you guys are interested in this series. If you want to take it one step further, why not consider becoming a channel member? It's the best way to support me directly and you get access to all of these videos early. And with all of that out of the way, let's get started on today's episode. So probably my best food choice for at least early game here is going to be trying to make our way towards chicken sandwiches. I've been making these sort of manually and it takes quite a bit. So what I want to do is basically break down every step in making the chicken sandwiches and sort of have my own like little factory area for each component. Obviously carrots are probably going to be the easiest because we just use the raw carrots. We don't need to cut them up or anything. And for the cabbage, we could break these down as well. I think, yeah, we just get 2 of these. So that could probably be something we do sort of last minute. But the biggest thing right now is going to be not toast, but the actual bread itself. Here we go. So we should probably start off by making a wheat field. Then we can have some sort of transport system that takes it over to a mill that breaks it down into wheat flour. Then we'll have some sort of bread factory inside of the city itself. That basically will combine, let's see here. Yeah, it'll basically add water to the wheat flour, turning that into dough. And then with the dough, we can make bread. We might also be able to make a slime ball factory as well as sort of a side project. We are going to need a ton of slime in this series as well because we need it for super glue as well as gluing together different contraptions. So this area off to the left of this path is probably going to be our best position for this wheat field. It's the biggest and most wide open area. It's also fairly flat, so we can actually get some vehicles sort of running through here. Now, of course, my plan for this is for it to be fully automated. And in order to do that the best, I think what we're going to do is finally get into making some trains. So I think I want to start off by sort of automating making our track. Now, I think I'm going to use these phantom train tracks from Create Steam and Rails. Unfortunately, these do use phantom membranes, which I don't even think we even have any of. Yeah. So I'm going to have to stay up for a few nights and kill some phantoms. We do have an alternate recipe here though. However, it does require us going to the end, which we definitely haven't done yet. And I don't really think I want to go there just yet. So we have basically 3 different gauges for our train tracks. We have the regular ones, wide and narrow. These really won't matter too much for our phantom train tracks. It does sort of modify how the sort of the wheels look on the train though. But of course, I think that this is actually going to be underground, so I don't even think that that really matters too much. All right, so after giving it just a little bit more thought, I do think that we're going to be using just regular oak train tracks because this will only cost an oak slab and a couple of iron or zinc nuggets, which is definitely going to be a lot cheaper, although it does only make 1 where the phantom rails make 32 each. I think this is still going to be much easier. So to make this easier, I'm going to start off by making a couple of deployers. And because we have create crafts and additions in this mod pack, I'm actually going to make my first diamond grit sandpaper, which is just going to have a little bit more durability. And that way we can actually sand up a little bit more of these polished rose quartz. And here we go. There is our deployer. And now I think I just need a mechanical press. Oops. Here we go. And I'm actually going to add a new sort of automation area here next to our other machines. So I'll start by placing down a spruce barrel. Then I'll get a shaft right next to that. Here we go. And then we want to go, I think 3 blocks. So here we'll connect that with a belt and place another barrel on the end there. Then we'll get a andesite funnel down on either side. Put our 2 deployers here, followed by the mechanical press. Rotate these around so that they all connect together. Then I think I'll just borrow some power from right here. And is that spinning the right way? It's hard to tell. Yep, it's spinning the right way. So basically what this will allow us to do is automate the production of tracks. I'm going to craft a ton of these oak slabs. Well, we'll probably definitely need a lot more than that. They're currently just going through... Oh, because I forgot to connect the rest of the power. And this is pretty messy, and I'll definitely try to fix that up in the future. But for now, I just sort of want to test this out. So we'll get our iron nuggets here now. And we can just go ahead and split those. I guess I'll have to access this from the backside. Or I guess we can do from below here. Here we go. Yep, and that will begin to make some oak train tracks. Nice. So by the way, from clearing out the forest, we have gotten quite a few oak logs, so I'm probably going to end up turning most of these into slabs just for our rails here. We're definitely going to need a ton of these, so it's definitely worth it to, at least for now, start to turn these into tracks. Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of iron right now, though, so that's definitely going to be a little bit of a limiting factor to this. And while that's running, by the way, I also just wanted to quickly mention that in between episodes, I did actually add the Create Cobblestone mod, which basically adds these mechanical generators that allow you to add like a little filter here, and it will actually produce that item. It only works for these 5 blocks though, so we have cobblestone, stone, basalt, limestone, and scoria. And basically you just give these some power and they will begin to generate that block. So right now I have diamond upgrades in each of these drawers, which means that we have about 500,000 and 250,000 cobblestone of each of these items now. These are all possible to do in just vanilla Create or even in vanilla Minecraft as well for some of these. But you actually need to use a drill, and yeah, there's just a ton of like block updates and everything. And this is just going to save us on lag. So I think this way is just going to save us a little bit of lag in this world. Another thing I did in between episodes as well that I forgot to mention is that I added this washing setup here. So we can actually put gravel inside of this. And as long as I don't have my magnet on, this will actually drop it down and get washed. And I just have an attribute filter inside, or I thought I had an attribute filter here. Well, I used to have an attribute filter here. I'm not sure what happened to it. I think I've mentioned attribute filters in this series already, but if you didn't know, you can actually add an item here for sort of a reference. Then each of the sort of tags that it has can be added here as an attribute. So for example, in this machine, I use can be washed. So I add that to our list. Then I click on deny list. Then we can just add it to this brass funnel right here, and that will only allow items that cannot be washed through. So basically it will wait until an item is washed, then it will suck it into here. So it looks like I'm gonna have to, I can't actually undo those, so that's kind of a big waste of gravel, unfortunately. But as you can see here, we're adding the gravel. We put it into that barrel, it drops down, then it gets washed. And eventually those items will end up inside of that barrel there. And washing gravel just gets you flint, but more importantly, iron nuggets, which can then be turned into iron, of course, which will actually help us down the road. Next up, we're going to need a few more train related items. We're going to need to start off by making some train casings. These are pretty simple. We just need a brass casing, and then we just deploy a sturdy sheet onto it, and that will get us our train casing. With the train casing, we're going to need to make some stations. That way we can actually build and sort of have our train end up at a certain location. Train signals, train controls, which will allow us to sort of control the train. And then the most important part probably is going to be the train schedule, which will allow us to have the train go on sort of a harvesting schedule. And I think I talked about this in the previous episode, but to make these sturdy sheets, all we need to do is place down powdered obsidian beneath a spout full of lava, and that will actually begin to make our unprocessed obsidian sheets. Then we just need to press these down, and actually press twice, and that will make our sturdy sheets. So like I said, when we combine a train casing with a compass, That'll get us our train station. Now we can also craft some train controls with a precision mechanism and a lever, which by the way, this precision mechanism took me 3 times to make, but we're not going to talk about that. And finally, I think I used all of my sturdy sheets. You actually need a sturdy sheet for the train schedule, not the train casing. Here we go. Now I'm just going to grab some of my tracks, and now I just want to head underground here. Now, unfortunately, I didn't leave myself a lot of room beneath the dirt here. It is mostly filled in, so I think what I might have to do is either manually dig this out, or I'm not entirely sure. This might actually be a pretty good time to finally make a mining drill. Not a Create Aeronautics one, but just a regular default Create one. So these are actually pretty easy to make. I'm just going to place down some rails here, a cart assembler down sort of randomly, minecart with a furnace here, put some blocks in front of the cart and behind it, and we'll go probably there. Mechanical plow down here. This will actually pick up the rail. We'll attach that there as well. Then I'm just gonna do a little let's do a 3x3, add 2 or 1 more on either side, and I think that should be pretty good for now. Then we're also going to need some sort of storage for this thing as well to store the blocks that it mines. I'm not entirely sure if the sophisticated storage barrels will work for this or not, but we'll try it out. And I forgot we're going to need a couple of deployers here as well. And we'll put 1 there and 1 there. The first one we want a little bit lower down. I think right there should be good. Let's wrench this. Here we go. And I want to make sure that the filter here is visible. So this first deployer will be placing down blocks right below where the rail is going to go. And the second one is going to place down some rails. Here we go. So inside of this second filter, we're just going to place some rails. And in the first one, we're going to place whatever material is going to be mined the most in an area. Since we're pretty close to the surface, it's probably going to be either dirt or cobblestone. So then we'll just put our extra rails in here as well as some cobblestone. And I think that's everything, but the best way to give it a test is to actually get this thing glued together. We're using normal glue here, so we do have to make sure that all of the blocks are connected up. Here we go. And whoops, forgot these 2, and we'll just connect it there. And I think that's everything. So we can go ahead and give this a little bit of power. And that should actually have it turn into a contraption. And actually, before we do that, I just want to make sure that we have this set to lock rotation, just in case, because it'll actually lock it to whatever direction the rail is going to. If you leave that unlocked, it's going to try to spin around and do all sorts of weird things, and it will definitely mine blocks that you don't want it to mine. So here we go. Let's pick it back up. And I think this Y level is probably going to be the best for us. Oh, I just realized I don't have this on. So 61, I think that should be pretty good. Then I'm just going to clear a little ways behind it and a little ways in front of it, just to give us a little bit of room to work down here. We'll get some rails placed down. Oops, that should be... Here we go. And I like to put it as far back as possible. That way it has a little bit of room to place some more rails if it needs to. And then I do have a minecart with furnace, which means that we can actually just give this some coal, and it should begin to work. It looks like it's not placing any rails down for some reason. And I'm pretty sure the reason for that is actually because this barrel right here doesn't actually count as an inventory, sadly. So we're actually going to have to replace this with a regular barrel, which means that we're going to have a little bit less room to work here. A little less storage room, but that should be fine. All right, let's try it now. And here we go. It's actually placing the rails down now. We got an achievement, self-driving cart. Nice, so this will actually begin to mine out the area down below our farm here. And we're probably going to want to keep going. I think we'll just stop here for now. And actually, I'm realizing I forgot I actually wanted it over here because we're going to be starting with the wheat field. So I'll probably just let it drive over here, then we'll clear out the area below this sort of section over here. Oh, apparently there's a skeleton spawner down here. I never even noticed it. Nice. We can definitely add this to the collection of spawners that we have. All right, so I've cleared out sort of my guiding line for exactly where I'm going to be clearing out. So we're right next to the river here. So that's going to be all the way on this side. And then we go all the way over to the tree line, basically. Over here. And I'm just going to clear out until you see that cobble pillar right there, which is basically render distance here. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty big area. I'm going to try to do a time lapse, but unfortunately so far in this series, time lapses really haven't worked out much. So I'll run it, and if it works, it works. If not, we'll be back in just a little bit. Alright, and that actually didn't take all that long. I ended up expanding the drills on the mining contraption, and it definitely made it a little bit easier to mine this entire area out. And now we have plenty of room to work down here and actually get some sort of contraption sort of built up. And also, just to quickly mention here, in the time-lapse, I did actually end up upgrading my backpack to have the stack upgrade tier 2, as well as I added a second upgrade tier 1, which will actually allow us to have 512 items per slot. I think before it was only 128 or something like that, so it is like 8 times as much as default. And that's simply because we mined a ton of items, so yeah, this was definitely necessary. Oh, and I also just remembered that I did actually fill up my vault. So I'm going to have to deal with that at some point. But for now, I'm going to get started on building up this train. And I'm thinking I probably want to start building it around in this area. So what I'm going to do is just clear a few blocks here because we actually need it to connect all the way through. Because the tracks aren't actually going to be visible to anything up to the sky, but they are going to be down here, whereas the rest of the vehicle is going to be visible up top. Another thing that we're going to have to keep into consideration is actually the level on the grass. So you'll notice that this level here is a little bit higher than the one over on the side. So when we're doing our rails that are going to be beneath the ground, we actually need to go down on this side. So for now, I think that this level will do. And I think let's just start it right here. So in order to begin building a train, you actually just need to right click a train station onto a train track and then place the station down next to the track. Then you just want to open up the station by just right clicking on it, and you want to click create new train. Now you can actually see these sort of blue highlighted areas here, and in order to get a bogie down, you just right click a train casing onto the track. This vehicle is going to be sort of a combine, sort of a harvester, so it's going to be fairly small in comparison to some of the other things that we might build in the future. But so for now, I'm going to space these out by 7. I think that'll give us plenty of room to work with. Technically, we could do this on only a single bogie, but I feel like in order to get sort of a realistic feeling sort of turning for it, I think 2 bogies will have to do. I think 2 bogies is going to be way better. By the way, you can actually right-click on these bogies, and if you have the Steam and Rails mod added, you can get all sorts of different types of wheels on this thing. It's not going to matter too much for us right now because these aren't going to be really visible at all. We could in fact go with these invisible ones, which are pretty cool. These are really good for the phantom rails that we can use later on, especially if you want to make like a cargo plane in the air, for example. Next up, I just want to connect the 2 bogies together, and we're just going to use cobblestone for now. This might change in the future. I keep saying this, but this part is not going to be visible at all, so what happens down here doesn't really matter. But yeah, so in order to sort of move this thing, we need to put a seat on it, and this is probably going to be the worst eye level because our face is going to be inside the dirt, but we'll just do it for now. And then we just put some train controls on top there, and then we just need to glue it all together, including the bogies. And this is technically a train, if you could consider it that. What we do now is just click assemble train, and that will actually be, you know, a train. And we can actually right click on the controls and go ahead and move it forward. Apparently we get a, oh, ow, that hurts. Apparently we get a conductor's hat on now. I guess I never noticed that before. And if you want to edit your train in the future as well, oh gosh, you just need to pull it into a station. If you hold space, it will actually park it perfectly inside of the station as well. So then you just go back to your station, click disassemble, and now we can go ahead and modify it. So in order to make this look like an actual combine sort of tractor here, we're going to be using a little bit of kind of cheatiness, sort of an unintended feature of the train, and that's the fact that it actually doesn't have any sort of hitbox. So we can actually completely move this through the dirt that's above it. Let's see if I can, here we go. So if we look above, we can see that this cobblestone piece is connected to the train, and it just moves through the ground pretty smoothly. So I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time decorating this and kind of figuring something out that looks pretty good. I'm going to add some harvesters, maybe a plow. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do the field, but I think we'll talk about that in a little bit. For now, I just need to work on a design for this thing. Let's hopefully roll another time lapse. Let's see if it works this time. Alright, and not too bad. We actually did get both of those time lapses working, so not too bad. We have a 100% success rate for the time lapses in this episode. But yeah, anyway, here is the combine harvester. I don't know exactly what to call it here, but yeah, it is done, and it'll actually move, and I've added some tracks down below. Now, one thing I kind of wish that it would borrow from the Create Aeronautics mod is being able to zoom out a bit, but anyway, it should be fine. So we can go ahead and go forward here. Also, unfortunately, the wheels don't spin, but honestly, we aren't really going to be seeing that, but yeah, here we go. And you will notice that it is a block off the ground. I have to actually go underground and modify where the, like, sort of the Y level of the tracks. Yeah, here we go. We have a fully working train, technically. Combine harvester. And we can actually adjust the speed with the scroll wheel, by the way. And inside of our actual schedule, we should be able to set the exact speed. It's probably going to run pretty slowly, and it'll probably be on some sort of schedule where it stays in one area, and then after like maybe like 10 minutes or 20 minutes, something like that, it'll actually go out, do a round in the field, come back, drop off the wheat that is inside of it, and then sit for another 20 minutes and then just kind of repeat that. So I think the next step is to go through this field and get it sort of plowed and then plant some seeds here. I'm also gonna have to figure out some sort of water situation for this as well. Initially, I was thinking about using the sprinklers from Create Slice and Dice, and then have sort of a sprinkler that kind of goes back and forth, but I think that might be a little bit too complicated, at least for what we're capable of doing right now. It would definitely be a pretty cool thing to have on one of our other fields as well. Maybe one of a smaller field. So I think for this one, we're probably just gonna go with the good old fashioned, put down a bucket of water and maybe put a slab over it. Unfortunately, I only had enough seeds to do about, what is that, like a quarter of the field? Yeah, so we're gonna take a break from this, let it grow, and then we'll do another harvest. But for now, what I want to do is get this harvester on track and kind of see exactly where we're gonna be moving around the field. Now, I am realizing that this area right here gets pretty narrow. So I think I'm going to do something kind of special here with this area. I'm either going to have it sort of go over here a little bit, or I might just end up filling it in. I'm not entirely sure. Also, you might have seen me try to use the plows on this machine here. Unfortunately, it seems like mechanical plows just don't work here for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. It's connected to the main body. I tried it with the other part that sort of tilts down, and neither way actually worked. So I'm a little bit bummed out about that, because I kind of wanted to do the field with the plows there. But regardless, let's figure out exactly where this track is going to end up. So the combine itself probably isn't going to actually leave the field. It's just going to be a little bit too big, I think. So we'll just have it go over here. I don't have exact plans for the rest of these fields yet, and I don't know where I want any of the buildings to go. But what I do know is that I want it to line up with another train that will be sort of a drop-off point, and that's where we have this, I think it's called an auger, or something like that, where it'll actually drop off the harvested grain. We'll have another train, maybe a depot, and then another train will come and pick it up. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, I just kind of want to get it going through the field right now and starting to make its rounds. So I think, let's see here. I think the harvester is 15 wide. So if I say that this is the outer edge, so I think right here is where we're going to want to get the cart sort of started. And the corners will probably end up getting cut off as well, so we have to kind of keep that in mind. But this is sort of the outer edge, and then we'll add turns later on as well. Unfortunately, we're going to have to move a lot of these torches. And I'm already out of track. Oh gosh. Wow, that was a big leg spike. So I'm going to be removing some of the rail that we've already placed down, and then I'll probably have to end up building some more as well. And an important tip while building a train as well is that you can actually use a wrench and right-click it, and you can move it over to a different section of the rail. Now, I think I want it this way, right? Nope, that went the wrong way. I think this way. Yep, here we go. Now we can remove this old track here. And in order to figure out exactly the turns, what I'm going to do is actually take this all the way out to the edge, then find, I think it'll be down here. We're going to have to do another curve over here as well. It's going to look a little bit weird, but it should be pretty fine. We also might have to go a little bit further out than we initially thought as well. But let's just kind of figure this out. So I'll come right here, and then we just want to find our curve, something like that. And I'm just going to drive the harvester over and see exactly how well this is going to work. So it looks like we're pretty well lined up. I actually didn't even take into consideration the edge of the harvesters, but it looks like it lines up pretty good there. Yeah, that area right there on the right side of our wheel, we are definitely going to have to fill in. That's looking pretty good so far. And let's get up to the turn. We should have turned by now, I think. Oh, I think I forgot to actually turn the vehicle. Let's try from here, and yeah, if you just hold forward and either right or left, it'll actually choose a track to go down. Looks like we're gonna have to go a little bit further back. Oh, here we go. Okay, so the turn is actually a little bit more further than I thought it was. So there's the end of the track there. Now we can see it does have a pretty wide turning radius. So I think what I'll do is first off pull it a little bit further back. We'll probably want it to start turning probably about here, maybe a little bit further forward. And let's check out this turn. Should have turned by now again. Okay, we're definitely a little bit further outwards than I thought I was. Next up, we need to make sure that it goes down by 1 block. So I think that should be pretty good there. Then we're gonna have to turn it immediately. Okay, so I've spent a little bit of time figuring out the exact pattern that I want this thing to move in, as well as finished up expanding the actual wheat that is planted here. Basically, I just ran the combine a few times through here and then just replanted every time I got some more seeds. And we just have this very temporary portable storage interface right here that just pulls the seeds, the wheat, and the straw out from the combine, and it just puts it into a little chest over here. So we have quite a bit of hay already, as well as some straw. By the way, this straw is from Farmer's Delight. It's used in a few different things. We can use it to make packed mud. We can also make organic compost, and this will actually allow us to make, we can make liquid fertilizer, but we can also make the rich soil, which is basically a way to speed up crop growth. And we'll just go through here one time with a manual sort of path here. So as you can see, it is going to miss a few different spots here and there, but I think it's honestly not too bad. So it comes over onto this side, and then it will actually go ahead and double back over this way and clean up this spot in the center, and then sort of go over to the left here a little bit and back to where we started. So we're gonna go ahead and grab this pig for a very specific reason. We can actually use him, oh my gosh, sorry. We can use it as a conductor inside of our harvester, inside of a train, and that will allow us to automatically harvest our wheat. So I just have a lead, and if you have something on a lead, you can actually just right click a seat. If you right click it on the seat, it will actually bring it right up here. And since it's in front of the controls right now, we can actually go ahead and get this set up with a train schedule. And it's actually been quite a while since I've actually used these before. So, okay, so we just need to right click it in the air. We'll hit add action. We will travel to station. And we'll start it off, I think we actually need to start it on this one. This is just a secondary station. We're not even going to wait here. We'll just pass right on through. Here we go. Then we'll add another action, travel the station. This is where the wheat will actually be dropped off at. We'll have it wait. I guess for now we can actually have it wait just 5 seconds, just so that we know that it's actually working. And now we can just go ahead and right click it on the pig, and he's just gonna immediately start harvesting. Nice. Okay, I did forget to set a speed though, so he's just gonna go full speed ahead. And with just the couple of rounds that we've actually gone down, we've already filled up this barrel. Alright, and in order to round out this episode, I'm gonna build a sort of facility over here in which we can actually temporarily store some of these items. Right now, because we only have the wheat farm, we are just gonna need 3 different silos, one for straw, one for wheat, and one for wheat seeds. And so we're gonna need a ton of item silos, I think these are called? Yeah, from Create Connected. And we're gonna need a ton of iron for that, which is why I set up this very temporary iron farm. Essentially, we just have our mechanical generator with the cobblestone inside of it. And of course, we're giving that some power. Then that cobblestone gets automatically sent down into these crushing wheels and through the chute, and then into our regular washing machine here. And so that gets turned into gravel, gets sent through the washing setup here, and eventually turns into mostly flint, but we also get a decent amount of iron from this as well. It is basically a flint farm that just so happens to also make iron. And then of course I just left this running for a couple of hours last night, and that should be good enough to get at least started with this entire setup here. Let's see how much iron this actually is. I think that's gonna do. Yeah, I just quickly did the math. We're gonna need a total of 486 iron, which is about 7.5 stacks of iron. So this should definitely do for now. So of course we just need to put it through the press right now, and this is probably going to take quite a while. And while I'm waiting for the iron to be pressed, we are going to need to make a ton of barrels as well. And doing the math, it looks like we're going to need a little bit less than 4 stacks of barrels. And by the way, to craft the item silos, we just need 2 iron sheets and a barrel. Then we actually just basically put the item vault into a crafting table, and that will turn it into a vertical version of it. So definitely an issue with having a ton of different mods, especially create add-on mods, is that we get a ton of duplicate recipes. So I just added the polymorph mod to this mod pack, and now we can actually craft our item silos. So I think I want to build these as close to the water line as possible. That way we still have a little bit more room to sort of play on this side. So I'm thinking there's going to be a road that leads further in this direction, and there's going to be a few more like fields and stuff out that way. This sort of side path here is where a truck will come and pick up the wheat from the harvester over here. Then it will just simply take it over here, and it'll just kind of do like little loops. So I think if I do like 5 away from here, maybe, let's hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can build it in a 3x3. And this works exactly like the other item vaults. The only difference is that it's going to be vertical instead. So these will actually stack upwards instead of long ways. There we go. Okay, so I think that's as big as that one can get. Or not, I guess. It's still going. Here we go. And I think I'm going to space these out by about 7 because I want to add sort of a decoration around these as well. And then we also need space in between them for so that we can go through them if we need to. Here we go. I think that's, yep, that's max height. And now I want to try out a brand new sort of block system from Create Simulated. And that's actually going to be the auger and the auger shaft. This will allow us to move items in sort of a similar way. If you've ever used like fans in this mod before, they work very similar to that, but it is a little bit easier to work with, I feel. We can also go horizontally with these as well. And these are just crafted with chutes, shafts, and iron sheets. And to get the auger cogwheel, which will actually allow you to provide power to this thing, you basically just craft an auger shaft in a crafting table. So I think we're going to need 3 of these, maybe 4 actually. I'm not entirely sure how I want this all set up. And then in terms of the actual decoration, I think we're going to go with stacked stone bricks. And I think they look most like the sort of corrugated steel of a grain silo, or I guess it would probably be like aluminum or tin or something. But regardless, I think that's what we're going to be going with. And actually, I think I'm going to mix in some stacked cobblestone bricks and stacked andesite bricks as well with these. I think that might look pretty good together. Alright, I have basically how I want everything to be set up for these sort of grain silos here. I'm not 100% certain if this is how these augers will work, but we're going to find out pretty soon, as I get some power over here. So right now I just have this item vault at the end of this belt here, and this item hatch here is mostly just to allow us to put items in here easier. The item will get pulled out of this item vault, and then we're gonna have filters set up for each of these different silos. So I think I want the first one to be seeds, second one can be straw, here we go, straw, and third one is wheat. So I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time here setting up probably some water wheels. I don't really see the point in bringing power all the way from over here, all the way over across the river. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so we'll probably just use some water wheels here. I don't really like doing that, but yeah, I don't think that there's many other ways. I guess I could set up a windmill nearby, but I don't think I'm quite at that point quite yet. All right, and I think that this is probably the best setup that we're gonna get, at least for right now. So I don't know exactly what I've already explained. I think I talked about these augers already. Basically, these are just going to lift the items from the ground all the way up here, and they'll be deposited into the top. And obviously, I know that the items can be put inside of the item silos from basically any side, but this is more for a cool factor as well as aesthetics, rather than for optimization. So I think I explained this as well. We just have a belt pulling the items out from this item vault, and then they get distributed to each of the different item silos here. And I actually had to add these brass tunnels, as well, because I only had the funnels initially. But they weren't really restricting the items from going by. Basically, if the auger was full, the seeds, for example, would just continue on to the belt, and then they would just get stuck. So what I did, I added these brass tunnels, and then I just have a filter here. This basically is just a deny list for seeds. That way, seeds will only head in that direction, and then wheat and straw will continue on. And then on this side, I just have straw. And then on the funnel itself, just in case some other item gets put on this belt, nothing else will actually get pulled into our item silos. And then since there's only one more item that can go in this direction, we just have it set to wheat right here. That goes all the way to the end, and this is where our wheat will end up. I did kind of struggle getting power to these belts up here as well with the augers. Yeah, it's a little bit complicated getting power up here. It is pretty cool though, because you can actually just right click with a wrench on any of these auger shafts, and it'll actually turn into the auger cogwheel. Whoops. There we go. That actually allows you to transfer the power vertically, but to get the power to the belts over here, I did have to use a cogwheel and 2 gearboxes. I'm sure there's probably an easier way to do this. I tried to use our encased chain cogwheels, but I just couldn't get the belt to spin in the correct direction, so I just kind of gave up and did what I was most familiar with. So yeah, that is this entire item sorting system complete. The only step left is to transfer items from over there to this system over here. However, unfortunately, we do not have enough time in today's episode. So I think I'm going to end things there for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.